Jonathan Pogash is the cocktail guru, a mixologist and hospitality expert.
See? You know big words. Dude, I'm the cocktail guru. Cheers.
Jeffrey's his dad, a wine and spirits author, historian, and consultant.
Oh, I do my homework.
With decades of experience, they're always looking for the next big thing. Join this father and son duo for a few laughs as they explore the hottest trends in hospitality with the service industry's leading trailblazers and tastemakers. Welcome to the Cocktail Guru Podcast.
Hello. Hey, Dad. Dad is eating. He's in the middle of eating. He's like really having a good...
Where
am
are we on?
Am I interrupting your meal here?
Well, yeah. I'm munching on a delicacy.
You're eating some dumplings, it looks like. Well, we have we have a great guest, a chef and entrepreneur, which we'll talk about in a second. But Dad, hold on a second. All right, you could put okay. Just put the plate down. Just put the plate down for a second.
No, I'm not.
No,
okay. No, you're not going to.
But I want to say something nice about you. I want to congratulate you, Dad, because our podcast is not only a Silver Telly Award-winning podcast. You specifically, one of your segments in the podcast just won a Silver Telly Award, the Cocktail Commentaries. So congratulations for that, Dad.
Well, thank you, John.
Congratulations.
Our guest is popping on for congratulations. I love it. I love it. Oh, our executive producer is reminding us that Cocktail Commentaries won the Telly Award as a series. So that's terrific. And you're going to get one of these bad boys. Dad, you're going to get one of those awards coming to you. But also, I want to say that we're gearing up for a trip to New Orleans, which is going to happen in the next several days. We go to Tales of the Cocktail every year, and we're doing a live stream episode live from New Orleans, which is going to be great.
Right. What do they have dumplings in New Orleans?
I'm sure they do have dumplings in New Orleans. Not as good as these. But let's...
these are pork and chive. Pork and chive dumplings. This is incredible.
So let's go on with our intro to our special guest. How about that, Dad?
On?
Of course we've been on.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
And what?
Let me wash this down.
What are you washing it
with? Some
champagne, of course. Yes.
He's celebrating.
He is celebrating. Oftentimes we have cocktail people, we have wine people, but many times we have food people, and this is no exception. Dad has a lot of stories that involve this style of food, which you're going to get into, Dad. And
which is called Chinese
cuisine.
Haute cuisine chinoise, high cuisine, fine dining, Chinese.
Yes, we have a very important chef and business owner on today. So her parents owned a very famous restaurant in the waterfront district of Boston on Commercial Street called Sally Ling. It's a veritable institution from its creation in 1984 until its closing in 2003. Notable and distinguished guests include Julia Child, Martin Yan from the Yan Can Cook TV series, The Incredible Yo-Yo Ma, Boston chef Jasper White. The restaurant was one of the first Chinese fine dining establishments in the U.S. Her parents, Sally Ling and Edward Nan Liu, were proprietors. A second Sally Ling's opened in Newton Center, Massachusetts, and I was surprised and stunned to find out that a third Sally Ling's had opened in my backyard, original backyard where I grew up, and Dad is there now in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Dad wrote this intro, by the way. He says, by her own admission, she is sensitive and sweet. Okay, so there we go. We would like to introduce, better known as the Dumpling Daughter herself, Nadia Liu Spellman. Welcome, Nadia.
Thank you.
Nadia, before we go into an interview, we always ask our guests this one question. What is your desert island cocktail? Or drink. It doesn't have to be a cocktail.
See, I drink and eat based on my mood. And so if I'm on a desert island, I would probably have a Mai Tai.
Oh, yeah. That's a good choice.
Yeah. Fantastic choice.
Dad, your mouth.
Wonderful.
I like it. I like it with the orgeat. Did you say orgeat? Orgeat syrup?
Orgeat syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
orgeat.
love that.
Orgeat. Yes, it must have the real orgeat syrup. So Nadia and I met when we were both doing the same segment on a radio show on WGBH, which is the Boston NPR station. And you were, well, they talk about you a lot on GBH. They love your stuff, and I had seen your products in grocery stores, and your sauce I've had for quite a while. The Dumpling Daughter spicy sweet soy. I put it on everything. I'd love to bathe in it if I could.
We got to get you the new sauce that we're launching, which we can talk about, but we got to get you a new one. It actually tastes really good in a dark and stormy.
Oh,
Ooh, that's enticing. That sounds really, really good. We've got to try that, John.
Nadia, can you tell us a little bit about the background of kind of growing up in this business and, what your involvement was? I assume that from a small child, you were kind of thrown into the throes of hospitality. Am I right in assuming that?
Yes, it's my earliest memory is being in the restaurants, sitting around the table at home. And maybe it just struck something special with me is being with family, having great meals. Really enjoyed it as a kid. I loved the multi-course meals. I loved the hospitality side of it. And I think it was because I was, quite frankly, spoiled by the best. And I felt that. I felt how lucky I was. And it now is in my DNA. And it's the only thing that I think I could ever do.
Because Sally Ling's, your mother's and father's restaurant, was one of the very first Chinese fine dining establishments,
Yes.
certainly in Boston, but also one of the first in the United States.
Absolutely. You're
Wow.
right. It was very special. It was white tablecloth, French style service on the cart table side. Every single piece of art had its place with a spotlight and an indentation in the wall. There was art from all over China displayed, fresh flowers, tuxedos. You actually had to wear a tuxedo to eat there in the first 2 years.
A full tuxedo?
Really?
Yes.
What?
So it was formal. You couldn't
Isn't that
get in
wild?
unless you were dressed in a formal manner. Wow,
Yes.
that's incredible. I had no idea. Maybe that's why I didn't go, because I didn't have a tuxedo.
And at that time, the late Jasper White now was next door. And my
Yeah.
parents were very inspired by him. And so they wanted to open something next door because at that time, fine dining was something that you would only find in hotels. And so having a fine dining 5-star restaurant freestanding was new. It was a new concept. And they wanted to follow Jasper.
And for those who don't know, Jasper White was one of the great chefs in Boston, one of the great restaurateurs, and one of the first fine dining establishments in
Yes.
Boston, really.
And Dad,
Yeah.
I don't know if you. I just had a thought. I don't know if you know whether this is accurate or not, but is the sort of fine dining haute Chinese cuisine, does that relate at all to the dining of tiki restaurants and whatnot? Was it sort of a response to tiki restaurants and wanting to make it more of white tablecloth 5-star dining?
Since we are a tiki connoisseurs and tiki geeks, I can say with great certainty that yes, there is a direct connection between tiki restaurants and Chinese cuisine, because most of the cuisine served in tiki restaurants is Chinese. A lot of people don't realize that, but this is what Don the Beachcomber started serving in his restaurant in LA, one of the first tiki establishments ever. And then all the other tiki restaurants that opened up followed suit, and they were all serving various variations on Chinese food, on what they called they didn't call it Chinese food, they called it Polynesian food, but in reality it was Chinese cuisine. Yeah. So yes, there is a direct
Okay.
connection.
And Nadia, my dad was saying that he saw an interview with you, I think, on an NBC affiliate locally, where you said something to the effect of that at the time Boston was not that familiar with Chinese cuisine. Is that right?
Yes, I think that back to the tiki and the Polynesian cuisine, that was happening in California, right? Like Trader Vic's paved the way as well. And I think in New York, a lot of immigrants settled and opened in Long Island, um, Chinatown, and Boston, just like today compared to New York, has less of a variety. And so less people came to Boston to open Chinese restaurants. So there was fewer. And New York was really the happening place for the East Coast for Chinese food. And, you know, Boston had a very small Chinatown, and it was mostly Cantonese food in the 70s and 80s. And my mom actually opened the first non Cantonese restaurant in Chinatown, serving dumplings and noodles and buns, very similar to
Yeah.
Dumpling Daughter, exposing Boston to a little Taiwanese, a little Beijing style Northern Chinese food. It was her comfort food growing up, so that's why she did it. And it was, um, very affordable, approachable lunch box for lunch. And a lot of the financial district people would come over for lunch in Chinatown in the early 80s. And she had this little hole in the wall space on Tyler Street, and it was booming. It was so busy. She called it Peking cuisine, meaning Beijing, right? And she introduced something that wasn't Cantonese because all the Hong Kong people came over first. And so everything was Cantonese. But that's where my parents met. And that's where it all started. My dad walked into her restaurant, and that's where it all
Oh
began.
wow! So he walked in
Wow.
as a customer.
Yes, he was visiting Boston with his godson to bring him to see Andover Academy. And his godson said, I really just want to eat Chinese food. I want a bowl of noodles. And so they went to Chinatown and they picked Peking cuisine because it wasn't Cantonese. And they thought, oh, this is like a bowl of noodles. This is where we should go. And my mom remembers very clearly that there was a two top in the dining room for lunch, eating about 12 dishes, including lobster, which she made lobster with ginger and scallion. And that was very unique because in China, you don't have lobster, but my mom loved using fresh ingredients in a Chinese way. So she did lobster with ginger and scallion. My dad ordered it. She thought it was very odd that somebody would be eating such an expensive dish for lunch. So she came out to see, and it was my dad and his godson. And she said, how is everything? And he said, do you want to hear something that sounds good, or do you want to hear the truth?
Huh.
And she said, of course, the truth. And that hooked her, of course. And so he critiqued each dish.
He did.
And she realized that he was a connoisseur.
Wow.
And he loved eating fine dining in New York. He was a New Yorker. And so when they decided to be together they decided to open the best Chinese restaurant Boston had ever seen.
Wow. I love that.
Very
It's so funny because you would think that she might get turned off by someone coming in and critiquing, like, who's this guy? Who's this New York high roller coming in critiquing my cuisine?
Where was he from originally, your father?
My father was from Nanjing, China, and he grew up during World War II. So he was much older to be my father. He had me at age 50, and it was his first child. And he went to Columbia University in New York and ended up staying in New York. He loved the hospitality and good food. And my mom really won him over because she's an outstanding home cook. And so after he had her food, he thought, oh, this is it. This is the winner.
Yes, of course. And these dumplings that I'm munching on here are from your mother's recipe book, correct?
And I,
Yes.
And
During,
you have
and
a
I want
Dumpling
to talk
Daughter
about I
book.
want to talk about the book, and also from one
Mhm.
entrepreneur to another, the whole sort of origin story of Dumpling Daughter. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Since late 2015, Lustau has tirelessly worked to bring back the vermouth making tradition to the sherry region, linking the vermouth universe to the sherry world, and having Lustau's sherry wines play the key role. The initial release of Lustau Vermut Rojo was followed by the launch of Lustau Vermut Blanco, a very special and distinctive vermouth due to the combination of herbaceous botanicals and a wine base that comprises Fino and Moscatel. Finally, a few years ago, the collection was complemented with an uncommon and genuine vermouth, Lustau Vermut Rosé. However, the collection, vermouth enthusiasts and bartenders, in addition to the Lustau team itself, believed that Vermut Lustau needed to be complemented with a new expression. Vermut Dry completes the diversity and expressiveness of the collection, offering a new myriad of flavors, aromas, and ways of enjoyment.
And now we're back. So yes, can you tell us about the books, and then also, what the inspiration is behind creating this whole Dumpling Daughter company?
the book is a project that I felt would be an excellent heirloom for my children because when I was working in finance in New York, I wanted to cook the flavors that I grew up eating, but I had no idea how. My mom was never the type to write down her recipes. And I wasn't going to go to a five-star Chinese restaurant in Midtown Manhattan to enjoy good food. And
Mm.
I was frustrated. And so I'd always had in my mind that I need to document my mother's recipes. And it's such a gift for me to give to myself so I can produce it, but also to give to my kids because they should know that our family is rooted in delicious food and moments around the table. And it was in my mind for a long time, even before I started Dumpling Daughter. I kind of wanted to write a book about my mom or my family and these recipes. And I got really busy opening restaurants in 2014 and started opening more restaurants. And I think when the pandemic hit, I had to reset and figure out what am I going to do to grow this brand and serve the community better than I ever have? Because I was thrown this curveball that I am going to catch and also grow, right, from this challenge. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I think I want to teach virtual cooking classes to our customers so I can connect with people. And she started sending me recipes. And we were building meal kits in our restaurant to keep the employees enthusiastic and doing something different and challenging. It gave them a reason to be excited about coming to work. And we would sell these meal kits to our customers. They would follow along and cook with me every Sunday. And by the maybe fifth week, I had 40 people on the class. And I told my mom, you got to give me more. You got to give me more. So she's in Florida cooking. And I say to my mom, I really think that we need to put these recipes in a book. And she, just to test her and see what she said, and she said, writing a cookbook has always been my dream because all of these recipes are from our family and things that I thought up and through my experiences, I've been able to refine. And I've always wanted to write one, but I don't make the time. I'm always running restaurants in my career. And so when your mom says it's her dream and you can actually make it happen, you just make it happen. And I decided we were going to write a cookbook. We were going to self-publish it. I have family that have published books, and she said, my aunt said, you should self-publish it, then you don't have to wait, and your mom can have the book in hand in a year. And so this cookbook tells the story of our family, how my parents came to the country, how they met, and what we went through as a family the divorce and the businesses and my life as an adult, everything from childhood until today, me as a mom, an entrepreneur, and that journey. And throughout my life, all the recipes I enjoyed eating or craving at those times that's split up by chapters. And so there's about 90 recipes in the book, and it's really a gift for my mom and to my kids.
And where can we find this book?
You can get it on Amazon
Mhm.
or on our website, dumplingdaughter.com. And a lot of people do request that I sign it or write a message.
Sure.
It's really meaningful. For me, it's not about making money for this book. It's about having it as a tool to tell the story and to share our family's recipes with you. And it's very approachable. It's not difficult. You can get most of the ingredients at your local market in the international section. You really can achieve a lot of the flavors very easily, and I
When
love it.
we'll put links to everything in our show notes as well. But how did it all translate into kind of this direct to consumer product line? I assume it all that also came out of the pandemic, and it's pretty massive now. You know, I mean, I think it seems to be nationwide. You can find frozen Dumpling Daughter dumplings in the frozen food
Mm.
section, like all over the country. It's wild, Nadia. It's wild.
It's fun. I started the direct to consumer as a result of the pandemic as well. I felt like if people weren't going to leave their houses, we should bring products to them. I thought the next generation loves things delivered to their door. So we had to deliver dumplings to your door. And we launched that in 2021. It was actually more work to set up the website than I thought. So it took about a year. And the supermarkets came very naturally. When we kept our restaurants open during the pandemic, the customers loved um, coming to the restaurant. It actually got busier because it was like, I need to go out and get Dumpling Daughter. It's something that I can't make myself at home. And so I realized I do have something special here. There are flavors here that people can't reproduce at home. And I started selling our frozen restaurant dumplings in Ziploc bags, printed how to cook, and just sold that along with takeout orders. And supermarket owner from Needham, Mass, owns a supermarket I love. She said, I would love to sell these at my store. And I thought, wow, what an honor. Good thing I have the boxes being made for D2C. So the direct to consumer business. So I said, okay, let's try. And so, of course, I drove the dumplings to her. And within 3 weeks, there were 14 supermarkets calling, asking for the dumplings because of word of mouth. And that was very organic. And I thought, wow, people are buying these dumplings. They are moving. And in the consumer products world, they call it velocity, the speed at which you sell. And we were about 5 to 8 times faster than the average frozen item. People were buying 5 to 8 times faster because they just needed the dumplings in their freezer. And that's when I thought, okay, I'm pushing all the buttons and this one is lighting up.
Yeah.
So let's focus on consumer products. And in the last 2 years, we're now in about 2,000 supermarkets, and we're moving down to the Southeast. By the end of the year, we'll be in Florida and North Carolina and all those states. And then next year, we plan on going west.
And I love the packaging as well. Very,
It's
very distinctive.
eye-catching, right?
Very distinctive. I found them right away. I bought them in my local ShopRite supermarket. Actually, I bought one box at one ShopRite and another box at another ShopRite. They both had them. I found them right away. And Jonathan, where did you
Yes, so
get
I go to
yours?
Market Basket, and
Market.
that's where I get mine. And then I was talking about the sauce earlier as well. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of the sauce itself, and what makes this particular thing right here so special? Because I know that when it comes to international cuisine, sauces really are so important in kind of the origin of different dishes. And it's always so great to see different sauces. I mean, I'm a sauce guy. What can I say? I'm a sauce guy, and this really speaks to me.
You have a good palate, clearly. This sauce is very, very unique. I was in China with my dad about 20 years ago, and he took me to the Sichuan province. And that's the home of chili peppers, red oil, spicy, spicy, tongue numbing, tingly food that makes your whole mouth tingly. And I remember the dumplings that were served to us. They were swimming in red chili oil with a bit of sweet soy in there. And I said to my dad, I think this is the best thing I've ever eaten. I remember the moment, and then you take the sauce, you pour it on the rice, you pour it on everything else on your dish. And when I decided to open Dumpling Daughter, the restaurant, I said to my mom, I know this dish is not from my childhood, but it has to be on the menu. We have to figure out how to make this sauce. And so my mom was asking around to Szechuan chefs in New York, and they would give her tidbits of how to do it. And then she was experimenting in her kitchen to bring this dish to life. And we served petite chicken dumplings swimming in this sauce. Sometimes it's done with wontons in China. And that's exactly what people do. They order it and then they pour the sauce on everything else that they're eating. And when I was selling the frozen dumplings, a lot of customers were giving me feedback, which has helped us grow tremendously, and said, you need to bottle that sauce. I need the sauce because I want to put it on my morning eggs. I want to put it on my stir fries. And so we bottled the sauce and we were making it at the restaurant. Again, something more for my staff to do. And here we are. It's on Amazon. We sell about 150 bottles a day nationwide.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's pretty neat. And we have a lot of great sauces at our restaurants. So we plan on launching one by one so that people can really experience Dumpling Daughter at home.
And did the packaged goods come before the Dumpling Daughter restaurant, or vice versa?
The restaurant came first because that was what I was comfortable doing, because I grew up in it and I thought I could open a restaurant. I still was, I couldn't believe how busy it was, and it was really overwhelming when it happened. And I wasn't very good at opening the restaurant, actually, because it was crazy, but it was all good. It was an experience I had to go through, a challenge of a lifetime. That came first. And when there was a following at the restaurants, that's where I got feedback from my customers. And I would take off dishes and add specials based on what they wanted. And I would react to their comments. And that's really how I got to where I am today. Now that we work with supermarkets, we're working with the buyers. Those are my customers. And the market basket buyers will tell me what they want. And I try to give it to them. So, I really enjoy the challenges. And I like to please people, even as a mom, a wife. I like to serve. I like to please. I love people's reactions when they try things. And so I love having all different kinds of customers giving me feedback. I enjoy it.
Well, you please all of us, because
Thank
especially
you.
me right now with these delicious dumplings. They're just fantastic. They're very delicate also.
And what
You did a nice boil on them, huh?
did I? Yeah.
A nice boil. A nice boil on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you say boil?
Boil. Did you boil them or steam them?
I boiled them. Mm-hmm.
Very
And
nice.
Nadia, what I think is great too is that you are so involved in the aspects of the business and on the marketing side too. You're there. You're at. I saw a post of you guys being at Boston Calling, which is a big music festival, and you had a setup there. So you do these kinds of, things that are geared towards younger generations of people, so that you can kind of get them into this style of food too. And I just think that that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I love popping up in different places with my team. I think that when we go out and we share dumplings, we're not just sharing the food, but we're sharing time together as a team. And it's a great team building experience. And so things like the US Open of Golf, we popped up at the VIP tent for 7 days straight. We did Coachella Music Festival in the desert at Palm Springs, and Boston Calling. These are all great efforts that help us build the brand, let people try the dumplings. And it's amazing. They're amazing experiences with my team. Like, I'm not going to do anything that's not fun. And all of these things I find really fun. I think we sold 45,000 dumplings at Boston Calling.
Wow.
Yeah,
so it's really amazing to watch.
I saw a figure somewhere, I think it was an interview on CNBC, that you're selling, 50,000 boxes a month? Something like that. I mean, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, the goal is to share this childhood nostalgic food that I was so lucky to have. And so many people didn't have dumplings in their freezer when they were little. And it's clean, it's easy, it's actually good for you because you've got real meat, chives, cabbage, and then you've got clean flour, water. I mean, there's nothing to it. It's old school food, it's natural. And that was the heart of my childhood, is eating dumplings on Sunday with my family. And so it's such a gift, and I want to give that to as many people as I can. And so I find it to be a personal responsibility that I must share dumplings.
Excellent, wonderful. And by the way, I also grew up eating dumplings, but a very different type of dumpling. It's called kreplach, which is a Jewish dumpling. It's very much in the Jewish tradition. It's usually a dumpling you find in chicken soup, and I used to love it. I ate it fairly often, and but actually I prefer Dumpling Daughter dumplings.
Wow.
I prefer the Chinese dumpling.
Well, I think it's cool because every almost so many cultures around the world have their own sort of signature dumpling, you can call it, some kind of dough filled with some kind of meat or vegetable. So I think this story is amazing. And Nadia, we really appreciate you coming on, and we wish you you and the whole family all the best. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Same to you guys. Thank you for giving me the airtime, and congratulations on your award.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nadia. Dumpling Daughter, fantastic dumplings, and also buns. Let's not forget the buns.
Can't forget the buns. All right. Thanks, Nadia. Take care.
The Cocktail Guru has some very exciting news. We now sell booze. That's right, you can now browse our shop for Cocktail Guru swag and your favorite spirits in the same place. We personally have chosen all of the items in our store. Are you looking for a water bottle with stainless steel straw? We've got it. T-shirts, hoodies, snapback hats? Yup, we've got that. Oh, we've even managed to create a onesie for that little mocktail lover in your family. But wait, there's more. A cocktail shop wouldn't be complete without bar tools, cocktail box kits, and some of your favorite spirits. So head on over to shop.thecocktailguru.com and see what's new. You can use code GURU24 for 10% off your first order of non-alcoholic merchandise at the checkout. That's shop.thecocktailguru.com, 10% off swag with code GURU24. Cheers! You must be 21 years old, purchase alcohol, and restrictions may apply based on your location.
That does it for today's show.
If you enjoy what we do, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast.
To watch or listen to today's episode or to see the show notes, visit thecocktailgurupodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, or TikTok.
The Cocktail Guru podcast is produced by First Reel Entertainment and can be seen on EatsDrinksTV.com, Spotify, and Zencaster, or heard on Apple, Google, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.